Hello everybody, and we're getting ready to do an introduction here to Algebra 2, otherwise known as 11th grade math. And 11th grade math, otherwise known as Math 11, fourth quarter, which is what you need right now because of coronavirus, includes classwork and homework sheets, which you can order online for booklet, quiz, and test, which is issued by Explain Everything, and also as well as by Scribbler. And you have quizzes and tests and a pacing guide here, which we'll go over now. And you get a free diagnostic test, which is about 25 minutes, to see if your student is ready for the fourth quarter of Math 11 or Algebra 2. So our first week, there is a pretest, a free pretest as given, which is actually an Algebra 1 quiz called 8.8a. And once your student does well on that, we go into week 1, which we start covering graphing, quadratic equations. And there is homework as well here. You have a graphing quadratics, and there's two-part homework, which you issue online. And then we further graph quadratics with homework. And then 9.3 here is solving quadratics by graphing. And this is our first week of work, so we get right into it quickly here. Week 2, we solve quadratics by graphing, part 2, part 3. So we have a part 3 of solving quadratics by graphing, and then there's homework here for part 1 and part 3 homeworks here. And then we go into 9.4, which is square roots, using square roots to solve quadratic equations. And this star means there is a quiz here. So there is a quiz on week 2. We get right into assessments. By week 2, there is a quiz. Week 3, there is another quiz during week 3. And we go in further into quadratic equations by completing the square. And we get down here solving systems with quadratic equations. So it's very extensive here online. All this is done online by video and or animated PowerPoints. That's the manner of instruction. Week 4, there's another quiz. And we're comparing linear, exponential, and quadratic models. 9.8. And we have homework as well for 9.8. 9.9, we're modeling relationships, part 1, part 2, and there is homework. And then for chapter 9, we have a review and summary of chapter 9, part 1, part 2, and there is a quiz for week 4. Week 5, we have a test for chapter 9. After we do a review and summary of chapter 9, we have 3-part homeworks here for chapter 9. And then we have a test. We have a full hour given for a test, which is done online using Scribbler and Explain Everything. And then we go into chapter 10, which is analyzing surveys and samples, which is more of a qualitative chapter where writing is really emphasized for reviewing statistical kinds of critiques. We use more of a qualitative approach to that. 10.1, surveys and samples. 10.2 is using dispersion of central tendency of different data plots. And then week 6, we get into more analyzing data interpreting stem and leaf plots and histograms, part 1, part 2, and then interpreting box and whisker plots as well down here for 10.5. And there is a quiz here during week 6. And then we go into a review and summary of chapter 10. We start into chapter 10, review and summary. And then week 7, there is another quiz for chapter 10, and then there is a test for chapter 10 during week 7. Again, all this is implemented online using Scribbler and explain everything. And then we go into chapter 11, finding probability of odds, finding probability using permutations, part 1, part 2. And then week 8, there's another quiz. After getting into probabilities using combinations, and then finding probabilities using overlapping and disjoint events. So we go into that, part 1, part 2, and then there is a quiz. And then week 9, we go into finding probabilities of independent and dependent events. And then there is a homework here, part 1, part 2, for finding probabilities. And then we have a test here for Algebra 1, test 11. And this is only after, this test here is after we do our review and summary, part 1, part 2. And we have 2 classwork sessions, and then a homework, part 1, part 2. And then we do our Algebra 1 test. And this is done during week 9. And then our scheduling here of our quizzes and tests. Week 2, there's a quiz for 9.3. And then week 3, there's another quiz after 9.6 lesson. And then week 4, there is another quiz. So you have 3 quizzes here for chapter 9. 9.9a. And then week 5, we have our test for chapter 9. So you have 3 quizzes and a test assessing understanding for chapter 9. And then week 6, we go into chapter 10. There is a quiz. Week 6, after 10.2 instruction. And then week 6, we have another quiz after 10.5 instruction, so 2 quizzes during week 6. And then chapter 10 test is given during week 7. And then week 8, we have a quiz after 11.2 instruction. And then week 9, we have a test for chapter 11 for week 9, and then your final grade is given. And that is for your Algebra 2 11th grade math. Animated PowerPoint math video, AOL.com, for questions and or course materials. Thank you very much.